Okay, uh, ready to do the cutting board maintenance. Right now what I'm set up to do, this is acetone. And the reason that I use it is because some things have wax buildup or grease or just hand oil, and it's usually good to use prior to a finish to get rid of any of that, so we get a bond with the finish, which is oil, so it wants to hit something not greasy in order to stick. I'm doing this guy, which is end grain, with a little acetone just to get some of the oil and wax off it, because this one was coated with Howard's Feed and Wax, beeswax, carnauba, and orange oil. And you can see how it's lightening up in the middle. This is a very old, dark mahogany. Okay, so I got that trivet cleaned, and I'm going to clean this trivet and this board conveniently with each other. I'm not picking up a lot of dirt off of anything because I gave them all a little wash beforehand. So now I got those guys cleaned up and ready to receive. This was also finished with the wax. So because I didn't scrape it down, you can see I'm getting some dry spots there. That's just getting it clean. And then the last one I'll do, it's a big one, I'll move it over in front when I do it. I'm going to use the oil, cutting board oil. Cutting board oil, see, cutting board oil. This is just a food grade, colorless, tasteless mineral oil, and it has vitamin E in it. So we're going to hit these guys with it. Doesn't matter if you use too much. It'll either soak in or you wipe it off once it starts to lay on the top of the wood or the product, whatever you're covering. So it's okay to get it thoroughly wet, because you know, a lot of dry wood like these, which the trivets have never been finished with anything, so these are going to drink up a lot of oil or whatever other substance, wax. And I'm going to let that saturate, sit before I wipe it down. I'm just going to toss it aside. I can't see the screen. I will just rub that in while I'm here. Rub it with the grain. It's helpful. It's not like it's going to streak as if it was a varnish or anything. It's just a good practice. Look at the edges. Okay, move that over. And we'll do the octangular guy. That's end grain once again, which means it's probably going to soak up a lot. I keep these marinated in wax. I like the wax that sits on the surface, and I can scrape it off if it gets build-up. But right now I'm going to use this ultra thin stuff, mineral oil. whenever you see dry spots, you rub that again. So now that this is thoroughly saturated, we'll see how much is left after it begins to impregnate the wood edges. It's also a good idea to do the bottoms, simply because they get wet too when you wash them, and it'll help. Also, when you have an end grain, especially like this, it's a good idea to do the bottom, because end grain wicks up things more than just a regular edge grain or face grain, and it likes that protection, that seal. So we're going to get that done on the bottom. And once again, we don't care how much is left over. We're going to use a non-saturated application rag. Right, then we'll set that aside and bring in the big one. This is the one. Let's see, gotta make room. This is the one that got the where are we here? You see the new here? This is a little reservoir I made for the juice gullet, because it was difficult to get the juice to be trained, and you can see how it was very dry looking, and now it looks a little more like the rest of the wood. So we're going to do this one here. This is the one that I actually scraped the old wax off of, because there was quite a bit of buildup. So I'm not using the feeding wax, which has the beeswax and carnauba and orange oil in it, on this. And I didn't wipe it down either, which acetone, probably should have. This is the waxiest one of all, but it'll be fine. This happens on such a regular basis. For me, I use my cutting boards every day, all day. Do a lot of cooking here because I eat. But that's basically it. So, and I have a clean, not bad for the hands either. So I've got a clean one that's dry that I'm going to pick up the excess with for these, and I'll set them aside and let them absorb what they can. In you know, a couple hours I'll go back, and if there's anything still wet on them, I'll wipe it off. But you get the idea. You can see that it's shiny. Give this is a little wipe with the dry rag too here. And that guy is obviously pretty saturated, but it's starting to show some dry. We're just going to give that a light wipe and smear to even it out. That one's pretty shiny. We're not going to worry about that. We're going to let it sit aside too. And that's it.